Also breaking news coming in from TAN, now where Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has called on Muslims to stand by the people of Lebanon and the proud Hezbollah with whatever means they have, and assist them in confronting Israel who has been moved to a secure location amid tight security after the news of Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah's death started circulating. He warned that the fate of this region will be determined by the forces of resistance with Hezbollah at the forefront. He called on the access of resistance Iran-aligned armed groups across West Asia that have targeted Israel and its ally the US to stand with the Hezbollah. According to reports, Iran is in constant contact with Lebanon's Hezbollah and other regional proxy groups to determine the next step after Israel announced that it had killed Nasrallah in a strike on south of Beirut. Iran's foreign ministry says that the path of Hezbollah's chief Hassan Nasrallah will continue despite his killing. We are now joined by a special guest on the broadcast, Scott Lucas, who is the professor of international politics, Clinton Institute University College at Dublin. Scott, what does Nasrallah's death really mean for Hezbollah here and its backer, Iran?
The assassination of Hassan Nasrallah is a serious blow to Hezbollah from which it will take some time to recover. It's an important symbolic blow. Nasrallah was the overall head of Hezbollah's political operations, its links with other groups, and its military operations. He had been that leader for more than 30 years, ever since he was 35 years old and rose to the 1990s. There is no single Hezbollah figure who can replace him at this point, but I think equally important, although it is not in the headlines, is that almost every significant Hezbollah military commander has been assassinated in recent weeks by Israel. So they haven't just taken out Nasrallah, they've taken out almost all the senior leadership of Hezbollah. Now Hezbollah will replace these leaders. It will reach into its ranks and promote folks, but of course they don't have the experience yet. They don't have the experience that Nasrallah and others had, and in addition you're not just talking about personnel who have been killed. Hezbollah's entire communications you have been ripped apart. With the pager and the walkie-talkie attacks that were only 2 weeks ago, Hezbollah will not disappear. Iran will not disappear in supporting it, but right now Hezbollah and the Iranian regime are very much on the defensive, and they have very few options apart from, I think, what would be the very risky approach of firing missiles directly on Israel.
With Nasrallah having been taken out, what shape do you think Israel's attack state now?
I think Israel continues the air strikes across Lebanon. They continue to hit Hezbollah positions. They continue to try to assassinate any leaders who do remain. At this point, I don't think Israel will carry out the ground invasion which was threatened by the head of its defense forces. I think that all along the plan was here. We don't have to carry out that ground invasion to really degrade Hezbollah. I think the problem, and now the problem, first and foremost for the Lebanese people, but it'll be a problem for Israel as well, as is that Lebanon quite likely is going to be on the point of collapse. This was a country that was already economically paralyzed. It had serious political difficulties. It's a very deeply divided country, and you could see a country go into chaos. Israel, I don't think, can risk sending in ground forces because they will get bogged down as an occupying force in a country which could go back to the disorder that we saw in Lebanon a generation ago when, remember, it was in the midst of a very deadly civil war.
Scott, you just spoke about the pager attacks, and you also spoke about Nasrallah having been taken out. This begets the question, like, would you say that it was perhaps redundant, the pager attacks, considering Israel did have the firepower to actually take Nasrallah out?
The pager attacks were the first stage of what culminated yesterday with the assassination of Nasrallah, and remember, the killing of a lot of civilians in those buildings that were struck. The reason why the PAG attacks were part of this is that what you have done is that you have broken Hezbollah's communications. They had stopped using cell phones because those were vulnerable. They had moved to pagers then. Walkie-talkies were hit the next day, so the only way that Hezbollah leaders can really communicate with each other as they are in a war with Israel is to try to meet face to face, and of course when they met face to face as they did yesterday in that Beirut headquarters, Israel struck.
What does it say about Israel's aim and about the impact on ceasefire talks?
There will be no ceasefire talks. I mean, let's be realistic here, because there were two aims that will continue, that also bring in Gaza. The first aim was very much a personal one for Benjamin Netanyahu. His open-ended war in Gaza was in trouble. You have more than 100 Israeli hostages dead or alive still held by Hamas. You have the Israeli military bombing and killing almost 42,000 people, but Hamas is still there, and Netanyahu was facing hundreds of thousands of Israelis who were protesting, who were saying get our hostages back, and he didn't have an answer for that. He was facing division with his own military, who said you cannot destroy Hamas. So what does Netanyahu do? He says let's open up a new front on Lebanon, and when he did that, the second aim comes in that for years the Israeli military had made plans for an all-out effort to try to destroy Hala, and when Netanyahu made the decision this is the time to do it, that repaired the rift. It brought him and the defense minister Yoav Gallant together, so they have not only damaged Hezbollah for now, it has given Netanyahu the breathing space to continue with operations in Lebanon and in Gaza. Thanks for watching this video.